Working more won't make you a successful project manager. My name is Guilherme and I'm a project management specialist. I help professionals to become successful project managers. Before I start, make sure you like this content here and share with more people that needs to listen this here. This is an important message that you should spread across. Also, before I go deeper into the content, uh, this is a warm up for the Project Management Summit. The Project Management Summit, it's a free event that I'm going to make, talking about how you can develop your project management skills, how you can develop your project management career. So if you're interested in that, just go in the link in the description here, subscribe there. Again, everything free. I'm going to talk about 4 sessions, just talking about how you can grow and develop your project management skills. So let's go to the topic from today. This is a very important topic because, of course, depending on the perspective that you're going to look for, you can look for this issue in a lot of different careers where people think that the way they have to improve their performance is to work more. And of course, I'm going to share with you my perspective, but I also want to share with you one of my experience, one of the projects that I've overworked there a lot, and also what was my experience in the end, and also how I look this back. Well, first of all, let's talk about working extra hours. Everyone, of course, before I've also explained this, I have to tell you that it's normal that one day or another that you're going to work a bit more. Some days you end up doing a couple of hours more. Other days then you find a way to compensate that. So that's normal thing. That's normal part of life that your workload will go up and down. The idea is, of course, you need to balance that well. So if some days you have to work a couple of hours out. In some other day, you need to have some extra time to relax. Why this is important? First of all, if you are working like 10, 11 hours a day, at some point you're just burning yourself out. Meaning that at some point, the decisions that you are making through the day, the quality of the decisions that you are making through the day, they start to get worse because you start to get tired. Then your logical think it's not the best one, you are not the sharpest one, and so on. So this by itself is going to reduce your performance. So just trying to do more, do more, do more, it's not a solution. And let me explain to you that I mentioned to you. Let me talk about a bit of one of my experience here where I tried to do that and I did it. I overworked myself a lot. So this is was 2015. So I was already working as a project manager for a few years. And at this stage, my dream project was to manage a wind farm. So the company I was working on, they got a new contract to build the substation and the electrical infrastructure for a wind farm. Here I'm showing you few pictres. So the contract itself was to build the main substation, the power substation that you see in the picture here, that you see in this picture here, the left side, and it was 200,000 transform the energy from 34,000 kilovolts to 200,000 volts to connect the supply and the power supply grid from Brazil. And also there was an expansion that had to be done there. And in general, we had to take care of the contract. I was responsible to make sure that all the distribution lines and the smaller substations in the bottom of each power, which wind, each of wind generator was there and working and connected to the grid. So the company that was supplying the wind generator itself, they would come and assembly, just connect it, and everything would work. This was an engineering, procurement, and construction project. So for the engineering, there was a civil part, mechanical part, electrical design, protection control, automation, and everything else. And then I was responsible for construction, assembly, commissioning, and startup. To give you an idea, this project, the business case was around at the exchange rate at the time, around $25 million. And the project duration was 1 year. This project was very challenging, the timeline, because it was 1 year duration. And one of the things when I got this project there, I've heard from other people working the company, I've never seen this company here deliver a project like that in 1 year. So good luck for you. And this project it has also had a very severe penalties in case of delay. At the point that could reach the top of, I think the maximum amount was 10 or 20% of the value of the contract. I don't remember, but yeah, more or less 10% is already more than $2 billion. That means that your entire margin is gone. The company is losing money to build something for the customer. Just to give you some background about the project. And of course, even though I did not get some very positive feedback from other people around the company, this at the time was my dream project. So I jumped into with it with all passion that I could have, and I say, I don't care what those people are saying. I'm going to make this work. So in February, I moved to the site. So I was working this, as you see in the map here, was in the northeast of Brazil. The headquarters of my company was in the south when I was leaving. And because of logistics, the customer was also on site. Then I decided to stay on site for the entire project duration because for me, I say, I'm going to make this work. And during the time I stayed on site, to give you an idea, I was working Monday to Saturday from 7 a.m. to around 6 p.m. every day, Monday to Saturday. And I did that from February to October of 20, in this case, 2015. So it was, I worked a lot. I did a lot of over hours, and happily, of course, me and my team, we delivered the project on time. But there was several lessons, and that's I want to share with you. Also to say, to show you that working more it's not a solution for you. Well, let's start that. During this period, basically, I moved to another city. I was working full time. And as you can imagine, if I was working, I don't know, 10, 11 hours a day, first thing that you notice that I was missing everything else in my life. Then I just stopped my life for a period of time to make sure that I could deliver this project. Meaning that I lost all the birthdays from my family, my friends, a lot of socialization, a lot of contact that I had there because I was working far away from home. And because in the new city I was always working, so I did not have a lot of relationship. I just end up working, living in a hotel, which you might say, oh, that's nice, living in a hotel, which I can tell you it's not. At some time you just get tired of that. But then, of course, every day I was going to bed. I don't know, around 8 or 8:30 because I was completely tired. I did not know anyone there. Then I was just going to bed, sleep, and start another day. Nothing wrong with what I did. Looking back, I like it to see what I did because, of course, having this experience also helped me to understand and to find a better way to do it. Not think this as a solution. And But so I did not have any personal life at this point. So here's one of the first things that the working extra does not help you. It's not a sustainable piece. I did that for February to October for more or less 7 months, 7 or 8 months. And I can tell you, by the end, I was completely done. And at the time, I still did not have a girlfriend. I did not have children, wife, or anything. So that's only reason why that was possible. But at the time it ended, I was done saying, I'm done living like that. I want also to have a life. That's not a way of work. Like I'm working because I like it what I do and I did it enjoy it for a period. I can tell you for the first few months that I was there, I was enjoying a lot. Then I was working like a crazy motherfucker there. But after a while, I was like, yeah, it's nice that I'm working, it's nice that I'm doing a lot of things, but I also want to have a life. And I don't want the company expect me to do that, because at some point the company was seeing as normal what I was doing there. Say, no, this is not normal. This is an exception. And because they were thinking that everything was normal, some of the recognition that at the point I thought I would deserve it, then we can also come back at that time. I was not getting, at least not as much I was expecting that. So that starts to impact me. And of course, in the end of the contract, I was happy, but then I was basically done working like that, because I want to have a life. Other things that happened during the project, because I was always working. So national holiday, entire Brazil on holiday, then I was there working. And because there was some activities that I needed someone from my team, and I say, I'm working, I cannot work, I cannot wait for them. I was just bypassing my own team members and doing stuff and taking decisions. And of course, even though I had, for example, a design lead, I had a procurement lead, I had a site manager, those people reporting to me in the project. Well, if I was doing something as a project manager and I was bypassing them, then of course there was not much that they could do for that. So also, that does not help you to build the right team, that does not help you to build the right culture in the team, does not help you to build the right relationship. Even though I think I still have a good relationship with everyone that worked in my team, and I think a lot of them, probably they give me some free pass at the time for some stuff. I say, okay, fine, if you want to do that, you go and do it. But also, of course, looking back, I see that a lot of times they were not happy, because I was just like a high speed car and I was just moving, crossing everything that was in front of me. So that does not help also developing my team. Does not help my team to develop themselves, to gain the experience. Sometimes I did not give them space to do their own work. So that's also not nice. If you think about what you want from a leader, you don't want someone that the moment that you turn your back, they're going to do whatever they want and just don't ask even your opinion. That's not good leadership. And why I'm saying that? Because I've done that. That was a mistake. And I understand that a lot of my team members, as I mentioned from my time, they give me a free pass, and I have a good relationship with all of them today. Looking back, this is the kind of stuff I say I can avoid it. I don't do this kind of stuff nowadays. Of course, in some situations, you need to push a bit more your team members because you need to have a resolution for a specific topic, but you don't need to work like that. It's much more fun to help your team to develop, to help them grow, to really be a leader there. So that's the second point. So I gave up my personal life. I was not helping my team to develop at the point that, yeah, at some point I was just taking the actions, which means if if my team is losing was losing the sense of ownership, or was losing that the feeling of the responsibility also for the project, that team collaboration feeling, and then that teamwork idea that we are building something together, that means that I always had more work to do. Because if people would say, you're going to do whatever you like it, so take the decision here, I'm waiting for you, that creates the wrong culture again in the team, but that would lead to more work for me. Because they say, if I do something, you're going to change the direction, then you're going to move for another direction, then that will say, so take the decision here or do it yourself, which I was actually doing. That moved me for a different type of direction. Of course, when I was doing that in Brazil, I was working with those projects there, which was fully aligned with my electrical engineer background. So I understood well how those things were, and I could be and my perspective, I was a very technical, a very capable technical engineer there, and I could take a lot of those decisions. But even though it was not the right thing, but what made me change in moving to my career was that when I moved to a project outside Brazil here in Europe, I end up in an industry that was completely new for a type of product that I did not have the technical knowledge. Then I was forced by situation to learn how to adapt. And this learn how to adapt my leadership style also helped me to reflect in all those situations I had in the past, and then understanding working this amount of extra hours would not lead me anywhere, because in the end, if you have a bigger project, what you are going to do, instead of working 10, 11 hours a day, you're going to increase and say, I'm going to work 15, 16. So this is not scalable. That does not mean that you cannot take bigger responsibilities, you cannot take bigger projects, you cannot lead bigger teams, because this is blocking you. You cannot work, everyone has the same 24 hours a day. And if you start to I was already compromised, and I think much what I had, except for my sleeping time, that I was sleeping my 8 or sometimes 9 hours a day. Everything else was compromised. So I did not have space for anything. And looking into back, say nowadays I'm married. I have children. I also don't want to work all those hours there. So what I'm telling you, that does not work. And by this point, you say you're mentioning, say, okay, I can understand that does not work. You don't help your team, you get burnout and a lot of stuff. But how should I do that? What should I do? What other direction I can go? Well, I already briefly mentioned that when I had when I transitioned to another industry and another type of product, then here was a real physical product I had to develop. I had to learn how to adapt, because here I was being a project manager, but one of my pillars here that was sustaining my performance was the technical item. That, even though was suppressing other of the items that should be there, like teamwork, leadership, and so on. When I moved, it forced me to develop my leadership. What do I mean by leadership? Well, making sure that you are discuss the topics you are discussing with your team, you are doing the, yeah, better way, at least, that you are not telling people what to do, but that you're collecting their feedback, that you are delegating the work and trusting your team that they are going to do the work there. So delegating to make sure that you do not end up in a situation like that is key. Even though, for example, I was delegating part of the work here, I was not fully trusting, not trusting. Trusting is not the right word, but I was like, say, I want this to be done fast. Then I was doing that myself, which also was not the right mindset, because again, extra work for me that was already working a lot does not help my team to learn it anything. And why and a lot of times I even had the time to wait for my team members. It was just I was not patient enough to do that. So if you understand how you're going to delegate, and meaning how you're going to delegate, you're going to make it clear what needs to be done, why the team needs to do something. You are going to give some boundary conditions there. What's a boundary condition? It's a constraint. Like, I need you to complete this with this type of quality. I need those as minimum requisites that you're going to do it, and I need this to get done at this time. Maybe sometimes you don't have a time constraint there, then you just explain what needs to be done there. And of course, and the other very important item when you talk about delegating, that also it's for you as a project manager, but also very important for your team, is making sure that you have a right prioritization. Then I know, if, for example, if you look for this picture here, near, I know that some people might be wondering right now, but everything it's important there, because if you do not have a bunch of bolts there, you cannot complete your assembly, which is true. Yeah, so everything at some level it gets to be important, because then the service cannot be completed. And in this case, of course, that you can think in a MVP, minimum viable product, that you need to start up, like painting in the walls. Yeah, that's something that can be done later because there's no technical issue in doing that later on. But the technical part must be ready. So you can even think into an MVP there to see the priorities. So you already divided what's a must or what's a requirement for the startup and what's can be done after that as an open item to be closed in 1 or 2 weeks. But if you have the item even to the startup, there's different priority level there. For example, you can make sure that you are trusting your someone in your team to get the boats on time. And from time, and of course, you just when you talk about delegate, is not just saying do that and just looking back to see if it's or just looking back when you have an issue. Is also making sure that you provide the right support, you ask the right questions, you confirm that whatever you're delegating there, it's clear. But also they understand their priority, right? Because if you give them 10 different tasks, and you need to be clear, say, I need you to focus on that task first, then you go to that task, you go to that task. And of course, you discuss with them what timeline we need for that. In some occasions, it's the other way around. Say, we need to get this done at this date. Do you think that's manageable? Or do we need to review our priorities? Do we need to get extra support? There's all types of different things that you can do there. But the solution is never going to be working extra hours. And I see a lot of professionals and a lot of good professionals that they cannot grow in their career because they are completed limit to the perspective that the only way that they can deliver value there it's with their hours. So at some point you reach, I don't know, if you want to work 14 hours a day, you work 14 hours a day, but then you are basically done there. You don't have a life, you don't have anything else, and in the long run that's not going to be sustainable. Or you need to find a better way understanding how to delegate and how to prioritize your team. And that's what I'm telling you. That's what you need to do. And prioritize might sound easy, but to make sure that you have a proper prioritization, there's a lot of foundations that you need to build on in project management, understanding the strategic level of the project, the tactical level of the project, the operational level of the project, the fully understanding goals, the different areas of a project like timeline, cost, business case, customer, and so on. So prioritization by itself might not be simple already, but I can tell you it worthwhile to work on that because when you reach a level, you're going to see that you are going to be able to deliver more. That's what I do today. I can deliver more value and I can better work with my team because my team members they are much more satisfied if I work with them to deliver something than if I just jump in, just bypass them, do their work, take their own decisions, and move forward without talking with them. So all those kinds of things will matter. And I mentioned the type of professional that cannot grow because you do not know how to delegate and how to prioritize. And I've worked also with professionals, they try to do even more working. At some point, I've seen people trying to work 12 hours a day and they would produce less than that I was working 8 hours a day. And why? Because after a couple of weeks, they were already overtired. So the critical thinking that they could do, the quality of their decisions, their systemic view, everything else was going down because more they worked, less capacity they had. So you get to a point that you are mentally so tired. Of course, you can reach burnout there, then basically that you are done. But before you reach this critical stage, usually your performance starts to go down, go down, go down, go down, go down, and down until you reach a burnout. So what I'm telling you also will avoid that you go to that point. And what I'm saying here, it's also what I'm saying by own experience. I almost had a burnout already in my career. That happened already twice. I've been working since 2009. It already happened two different points that I reached to this burnout, almost burnout. I did not have an effective burnout there, but I reached very close until I noticed and I could switch gears and adapt the way I was doing things. So this is very important that you understand that, because so finding the right guidance, finding the right knowledge, developing your skills. Because if we think about, you can develop basically if you want to have a good habit to make sure that you perform well, because performance will be a matter of your own habit there. You need to have the right mindset, you need to have the knowledge, and you need to have the skills. So instead of trying to do more, just adding time, you need to understand how to be more effective doing more with the same time. To make sure that you can do that, of course, I already talked about delegation and prioritization, but your personal level as a project manager, what you need to do? Well, you need to work on your mindset, you need to develop your knowledge, and you need to develop your skills. And I can tell you that's having someone guiding you in this journey can be very helpful. I always had some good advisors, and some of them, they also, the first I mentioned, for almost burnout experience one. What avoid me to this get into a full burnout was one of those advisors I had. He started to point out some blind spots that I had at the time, and that just our red light starts to blink it, saying, "Stop it! You need to change it." Then I start to change things, but I can tell you, without this outside perspective, there would have been much more difficult to avoid this situation before it get much worse. And not only that, this outside perspective can be very helpful for you, but also understand how you delegate things and how you prioritize things. It will change the way of work. It will change how effective that you can be. It will change how you work with your team. And of course, what I'm saying here, it's not, we don't live in a perfect world. But that's why I'm saying this outside perspective can help you a lot. This outside perspective can be your manager, can be a mentor, can be in a program that you have. Like I have programs and I mentor people doing that, giving this outside of perspective there. But that will help you to speed up your journey. So this is quite important that you can always try to do everything by yourself. But I would say don't do that. You don't have all the time and all the money of the world to spend. Make sure that you take the right route, and make sure that you are not getting this mode that you say, I'm going to work more, I'm going to work more. Then at some point you start just to managing crisis, what's the called so-called firefighting mode. And more you work in the firefighting mode, more crises that you have, more you work, more crisis, and you enter this vicious cycle there that will not help you, that will not help your career, that will not help your team, that will not help you, your family, or your personal life if you don't have a family. Because balance, it's important. Again, it's okay that at some specific points you might work extra for a few hours in a few days, few weeks, but you always need to see an end on that, because there's a lot of companies outside that they are going to abuse you. And when I mean abuse you, it's really abusing you, because they see that you are working 10 hours a day. They just say, oh, very nice, keep working, keep working, keep working, keep working, keep working. And they want to keep that as the new piece of work, the new rhythm, the new speed of work. But for you it's not sustainable in the long term. This is, I'm talking about sustainable peace, because it's also one of the items in the agile manifesto there. The sustainable piece, it's about respecting people, developing your team, and understanding that the workload will go up and down. That's part of it, but also making sure that you as a leader, you are doing your best to develop your team, to deliver value for the organization, and to be as effective as possible. So if instead of working 10 hours per day, you can work 2 hours per day and deliver the same type of value, of course, because then you have a team, you are managing your team, how they're executing things, and you are helping them taking roadblocks and so on. This is much more interesting because also that open doors for you to grow. Because can you imagine if you go for if you're a manager, how depending on the organization, if you're a manager, you're going to have, I don't know, 5 maybe 10 people reporting to you. If you are a director, you can have hundreds of people reporting to you. If you reach to a CEO level, you might have thousands of people reporting to you in different levels, of course. So how you're going to do this if you're in a level like that? You're going to try to execute hundreds of people work? No, you need to understand that you need to work, you need to start to go up in the decision level, moving from the operational to tactical to technical to strategic. And then you are going to work in a strategic level with a good leadership, with understanding, good understanding on the delegation skills, and that's how you're going to progress and how you're going to achieve the success that you needed there. And how, of course, you can get promoted, you can go for bigger projects, or you can go for bigger programs, bigger portfolios, or so on. So, in conclusion, working more will not make you a successful project manager. Working more will not make you to deliver more value. Working more, there's always a limitation. Find, understand. If you understand what I'm doing, what I'm telling you here, that's already the first step moving the right directions. Then you need to start to develop the skills that I some of them I mentioned here already, delegation and prioritization, but other leadership skills that you are going to need in this journey to be more successful there. Also, may again, if you understand or if you agree what I'm saying here, just write down in the comments, agreed. So I know that my message was fully received there. Also, make sure that you like and share this content so it can get to more people and more people can start to understand that we don't need to drive our teams or our organization to burn out. There's a better way to manage people, there's a better way to manage your teams there. This is a very important message. And also, when you like this video here, you help me to understand that's valuable for you and help me to create more content like that. And also, not forgetting, this is a warm up for the Project Management Summit. During the Project Management Summit, I'm going to talk about how to develop your project management skills, how to develop your project management career. Even if you say that you don't have experience, if you're not working with project management right now, or if you have been working with project management just for a few years, this event is created for you because if your goal here is to develop your project management skills, my goal is to support you in that journey. Thank you very much and see you soon. Bye.